Hello, my friends. Hello, and welcome once again to Stately Vaughan Manor, where Roger and I have returned. Where we have a little update video today, just a wee little update video for the 500 book challenge, the never-ending challenge, where I have to read 500 books that I own before I'll buy any new ones. And I've got my list here for the 500 book challenge, where I've been keeping track of it, old-timey style. I tried to do it on Goodreads, Roger, but it just didn't work because books kept vanishing and coming back. It was weird. I think Goodreads is possessed. Either that or it just sucks. It's one of those things. Anyway, it was a very unreliable way to keep track of the 500 book challenge. So I switched over to paper, which has proven to be very reliable. Nothing has vanished from this list after I've written it down. They've all stayed there. So, an update today because I have finished my 250th book, which means I am now, believe it or not, halfway through the challenge. And I know what you're saying. What? Only halfway? You've been doing this forever. It does kind of seem that way. It does seem like I've been doing this forever. Trust me, it really seems like it. But now, book number 250. Where was it? Book number 250 was this one, which I just talked about in yesterday's video a little bit. It's the Gold Key Star Trek Archives, Volume 1, which was just fantastic. Of course it was. And the book that's probably going to end up being 251 is this one. I'm reading this right now. The Dark Domain by Stefan Grabinski, which I'm reading for Horror Mayhem, a fantastic reading event created by the Bookish Bryants. So I'm reading this right now, and it's not that long, which is good. It's good for the challenge. So let's talk about the challenge a little bit and how it's been and how I'm planning on going forward with the challenge. When I first came up with this idea, it was based, of course, on the Read What You Own challenge, which is created by the great CriminOlly, who you all probably watch because CriminOlly has the best channel on BookTube. He's awesome. And yeah, he came up with the Read What You Own challenge, which has different tiers. It was like 25 books, 50, 75 books, and 100 books, right? 100 books is top for Ollie. I decided, you know what? I have so many books to read that I could do a 500 book challenge. No problem. And it seemed like a crazy idea, so of course I did it. Roger, you might remember, if you remember that far back, was very against the whole idea of the 500 book challenge. So he didn't support me at all. Not at all. He wanted to keep on buying books and buying more books. What a nut, this guy. He really enjoyed our videos, Halls of Adventure. Remember those? Oh, the good old days. One day we will have another Hall of Adventure, Roger, but not for another 250 books. But I learned some things going through the first 100 books, I would say. Because this didn't really seem real to me when I was first doing it. 500 books, that's a lot. But yeah, it's no problem. Take a couple years. No big deal. Of course, it's a big deal. Because, that's a lot of books. And I realized after about 100 books that I just wasn't going through books quickly enough. I really needed to pick up the pace, so I had to strategize. How am I going to go about doing this? And one way was just I have to read faster because who cares how fast you read? Up to this point, that's how it was with me. Who cares if I don't read fast? No one cares. It's not like I was on BookTube or anything. But then I got on BookTube and there was a little pressure to read faster, but not much. But then this 500 book challenge thing happened, and I was like, I really need to pick up the pace. And so when I read now, I do read faster than I used to. I've just trained myself. Also, for the duration of the challenge, I'm cutting down the bigger books. I would, in the olden days, pre-challenge, who cares if I read a mammoth or 2 or 3 in a row? It didn't matter to me how long a book was as long as I liked it. Now when I read a really big book, it's difficult. Like I read It not too long ago. And I was reading that thing night and day, man. I was just to get through that big, gigantic, massive book. I read a lot of that book, and I still haven't made a video on it because it traumatized me, frankly, Roger. And I don't even know how to talk about that book, but I will in the near future. Anyway, most of the books I'm going to be reading are going to be shorter than that. And I have been and will continue to concentrate on my vintage science fiction books like this one, because the vintage science fiction tended not to be terribly long. So you can go through these, And so like this one, The Puppet Masters by Heinlein. I'm due to read this year. This is one of the books I've got lined up. And like Westerns, I love Westerns, and they tend to be short. And a lot of the other books I've been reading have tended to top out around 300 pages. That's like the biggest I want them to be for the duration of the challenge. For the most part, there are exceptions for books I just really, really want to read. But that's one strategy I discovered that I had to adopt. I had to concentrate on these certain things. Also, when I started the challenge, graphic novels I exempted so I could keep buying them. But it turned out I just kept buying more of those to make up for the other books I wasn't buying. So with the exception of 2 lines of books, Marvel's Epic Collections and DC Finest, I'm not buying new collections or comic book collections anymore until the challenge is over. But I could read the ones that I have, and they will count, and that helps because I read a lot of comics. So I've changed the way I read. I've changed how fast I read. I've changed what I've been reading. And that has worked, I think. Because I want to continue to go through and read at least 1 book a week, but preferably 2 and maybe 3 if I can get away with it. Which is kind of how I've been rolling, and I'm going to keep on doing that. I would like to even pick up the pace more, but realistically, I would need more time to read, which I just don't have a ton of. I end up reading a little bit in the morning, a little bit at night, and I catch up on the weekend, That's how it's been going. But the challenge has been interesting. It's been an interesting experience because one of the things I would just regularly do just for fun would be to go to the bookstore and buy myself books. It was just a fun thing that I did. And then I have a big book haul on my channel. But, I ended up with a house full of books and gigantic tons of books everywhere and boxes of books. And I was spending a lot of money. I was spending a lot of Roger's gold that he has stashed away here under the manor. So, there was a lot of that going on. And so, I figured I could cut down. Maybe this would be good for that. And now I'm just out of the habit of buying books. That's a habit that is just gone. So I'm wondering how it will be 250 books from now. Will I go back to my old ways and just buy tons of books all the time and have a book haul every week? Like Steve Donoghue over on his channel, how he goes to the Brattle every other day. Maybe that'll be me again. Probably not. I don't think it will. I think I will, of course, buy myself some books, but I think I'll be more careful about what I buy. I think I'll be more selective. That's just a guess. Who knows what it'll really be like in a couple years. It's probably going to take another couple years to finish this challenge. But at least now, I feel like I've reached like the top of the hill and I'm on my way down. The other side. I've reached the halfway point, so it's all downhill from here. We'll see how it works out. But it's been an interesting experience. It's the challenge itself is the reason to do it at this point. It has become a true challenge. That has to be. I have to defeat the challenge. And, I'm on my way. 250 books, 250 more to go. We'll see. We'll see how it all goes, Roger. No support at all, this guy. Okay, guys, I will catch you next time.